Good morning and welcome to the Brick by Brick podcast with Ronald Pauleus, where we talk principles, we talk life, and we talk the things you need to lay the bricks that will help build the future you want, one brick at a time. I'm joined again by Mary Noon. She was with us last time, and she was kind enough to give us a little bit more of her time. I met Mary Noon at a Day with Pace event a couple weeks back in Arizona. Had a great time. We went paintballing, did a whole bunch of fun activities. And so I want to jump right in since my listeners are already familiar with you. And I want to ask you, Mary, when did you first hear about Pace Morby?
Yeah, it was actually March of this year.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
nice.
it's crazy. Yeah. So my dad had sent me a podcast that Pace was on and
Okay.
said, hey, maybe you should like listen to this. Maybe you can, you and Jonathan are like looking for a new home. Like maybe there's a way for you to buy a home creatively.
Oh,
And so I
nice.
like listened to the podcast that my dad sent for I feel like a week straight. Like I just like replayed it because like I was trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? Like this is so crazy. Like people can buy houses with
Yeah.
creative finance. Like
Yeah.
and so I would like listen to it and then I would call my dad and then I would be like, okay, I think I get it. So like this is like what's happening. And he'd be like, yeah, no, that's how I understand it too. And then it led to me like watching Pace, like basically every morning, like all of his like YouTube videos on my way to work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah,
I ran across him on a YouTube video and just like you, just took off. Let me check out all of this guy's videos and pretty legit. So
yeah.
after listening to that podcast and listening to his videos,
Mhm.
what community did you decide to join?
I joined the sub two community.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So why sub two? Why not Gator? Why not transaction to, or top TC, top
Mhm.
tier TC?
So like to be honest with you, like I thought Gator was actually part of like sub two. Like you could do
Oh,
either or. I didn't realize that they were
gotcha.
um, separate courses until I had actually joined sub two. And then I
Yeah,
didn't know anything about top tier TC. Again until I
gotcha.
was in the community.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you join and you realize it's like going to Disney World. You
Yeah.
get in, and then there's a Harry Potter park. There is Marvel. There's this and that, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's a lot going on here. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So, how did you win your day with Pace?
So I was on a family Zoom in the morning, and then Molly called me out when she, at the end
Oh,
of the family Zoom. So
yeah,
she was calling out. I believe it was like 10 people that she called out.
nice.
Yeah.
What Zoom was Molly doing that time?
Uh, it was Pace's like family Zoom, and but but Molly was on it as
Gotcha.
well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you? When did you win your day with Pace?
So I won it this summer. It was July, family
Okay.
Zoom night,
Okay.
and Pace had us in the chat box put our information, where
Oh
you're
wait,
from.
did you get picked on the same day? Because mine was also in July.
I don't know, probably it was, I don't remember the day, but oh no, sorry, not July. Mine was actually June. Sorry,
Okay.
mine was June.
Okay.
And so we were putting in the chat our name and our phone number, where we're from, so that the seniors, those who've been in sub two, been in real estate a long time, could reach out to us.
Mhm.
And so I connected with what, probably 30 people, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
And then at the end, he said, put in how many times or how many people you've connected with. So
Mhm.
I kept putting the 30, and he was you could see his eyes looking at all the people, and he said, Ronald Pauleus. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable.
I love it, right? It was, I mean, that's fun. Yeah, we he did something similar for us as well. It was put your contact information in the chat, and he basically said, like, keep putting it in there, right? And
Yeah.
then you know how Pace always is like knuckleheads, like, you guys don't be knuckleheads, like, don't put it in there like every 2 seconds, and like put it in there every 3 to 5 minutes. So what
Yeah.
I did is I just put a timer on my phone for 3 minutes, and then
Nice.
every 3 minutes I was just like paste, paste,
Nice.
paste.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mary, I think he put that timer in because of me. Probably, I'm not sure. But back in June, he didn't have those restrictions, and he just said, put your information in. And
Yeah.
so every second I was just copy paste. And everyone else was also. And so there were probably, his family Zooms, there's 500 to 900 people
Yeah.
a night when we have them. And so this chat box is lighting up. There was one time where he paused the chat and
Yeah.
I had just put mine in, and it
Yeah.
was in the forefront of his vision. And I think that really helped because there were there were hundreds of people there. So and he
Yeah.
picked only 10 people too. So can you imagine the odds of
Yeah.
10 to 600 people?
Right. No, isn't it crazy? You're like, okay, I was supposed to be, I think again, I think I go back to what we were saying earlier. Like, okay, I was supposed to be here. Like, this is meant to happen. This is
Yeah,
part of my journey. Like, all the things,
big time.
And like
Big.
life becomes so fun. Like when you have faith like that, right? And you know that everything's happening like for a reason
Yeah,
and the way that it's supposed to happen.
big time. When you live with good good expectation goggles,
Yeah.
if you will, a lot of people ask the question, what's the worst that can happen? And if you could reframe that, I think a great paradigm shift for me was when I went from what's the worst that can happen to what's the best that can happen.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're looking around, you're living life with the ideas of possibilities in mind.
Yeah.
And that is a huge difference.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I love that. That's such a shift like in your mindset and your thinking and just thinking like instead of like thinking what's the, why you can't do something or what's the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
or, like all of those things. It's like let's talk about why we can do the thing,
Yeah.
And it's like and it throws people off,
Yeah.
quite a bit like when you have conversations. And I know I'm sorry, I know we're talking about David Pace, but
Oh no, you're
I
good.
went on like like at work, right? Like a lot of people will come to me and say, like, oh, we can't do this. And I'll always go back and say, why not? Like
Hmm.
I want to know what's your answer. And a lot of times people don't have like a good answer. They're just like, well, I don't know, it's not possible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's possible. If you want it, it's possible.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what were some of the lessons you learned while you were there on our day with Pace?
Man, let's see. I mean, there was like a wealth of knowledge, right? For sure. Like we learned so much. I think like that day, but it's not like necessarily like lessons that I haven't learned. It was put into like a new perspective, a new
Mm-hmm.
light, a new environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what was really interesting to me, and it was like a good reminder. Um, but I would say like one of my biggest takeaways is the importance of having a team,
Yes.
and you know, building your team up, right? Instead of being against each other. Like I think
Yep.
like a lot of times in like corporate America and in other sort of like jobs or positions, I've seen like this, like, oh, well, they didn't do it or whatever it is. Like it's kind of more like a blame game.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
or something along those lines. And really like you're not building up a team. And I think that fundamentally, like, that is so important to do. Like, if you're running a company or like trying to get something off the ground, is like, let's build each other up. Let's not break each other down, like in
Yes.
this process, because teamwork really does make the dream work, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, we all have to like work, we all have to do the thing, we all have to make money and provide. But like, knowing that we have to do those things, let's make it fun, like
Yeah. Yeah.
in the process, right? Like, let's not make this like a miserable thing. And so I think really like, from like I think that was like probably like my biggest thing, and a reminder, if you will, to sort of
Mm-hmm.
build like a really like healthy team, to have the
Yeah.
camaraderie, to like have the
Yeah.
back and forth dialogue. And then for me, I would say really knowing that you can lean into people. Like that's something
Yeah.
that I'm learning like right now in this season of my life, is like building up trust again because of things that have happened to me in the past, and knowing that like I can lean in, I can trust this person, they're going to do the thing, and let's not be afraid.
Yes.
And so I think, you and I, when we were on the same team, I really leaned into you. You know what I mean? Like I looked
Paintballing.
to yeah, with paintballing, to like, okay, Ronald, you tell me what's the strategy here? And like, you didn't let me down in that process, right? Like, you were like, no, I'm here and I'm staying here. Like, we're on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that was pretty cool.
And you did awesome your first time paintballing. And what also helped, I think, Mary, was we played we played each other's strengths and comfortability. And
Yeah.
so for our listeners, we were in a we were in teams of there were two teams, and it was probably 10 people a team, maybe. And then we broke on our side, the blue squad, we broke up into teams of two. Sorry, two teams of five. And then I took a team going left, and Pace Morby took a team going right. And so I kind of gave some instructions to my team, and I had Mary Noon stay a little bit close. And our strategy basically was for me to take ground and Mary Noon to cover fire. And we progressed just a little bit at a time. And our first game, Mary and I took out about 5 to 6 people of the opposite team that we ran into on the left.
Yeah.
And what was so amazing was Mary was a newbie. This is her first time playing paintball. I gave her some instructions, and she followed through with those instructions extremely well. And I did not get, did you get shot that first game?
No, I didn't get shot that first game.
She didn't get shot at. Well, she got shot at. She didn't get shot. I didn't get shot. And it was all because we worked a plan and we played to our strengths. And I think when you are building teams, it's so vital that you're able to play in what Corey Sanchez says, your superpower,
Mhm.
the thing that you're great at, having conversations with people, looking at numbers, building relationships, whatever it is, you play out your superpower because then you can make forward progress and you don't have two people who are doing things they're not really great at and they don't really like and it's not really working. And
Yeah.
so,
I was just gonna say one thing, like
yeah,
to
for sure.
that point, is like, a lot of times like people don't necessarily like know what their strengths are. Like, they have an idea. But I think, like, again, going back to like the sub two community and just things that I've learned
Mm,
in the past like 3 months, is like, when you join the community, you're sort of open, your doors are open, right? And it's like
yeah,
there's this whole
big
world out
time.
there of like, I guess, in for lack of better terms, like there's a lot of shiny object syndromes.
Yeah.
And so like um like I think just like picking the one thing and then like trying the one thing and then being like,
Yes.
okay, like that's not my thing, that's not my strength. Like for me, I originally was, joined the Daily Dial, the West Coast Daily Dial, And Caroline Kane always talks about like pre-foreclosures, which is great. Like she's amazing, like at pre-foreclosures.
Yeah.
So I started doing the pre-foreclosures, and I know that's what you do as well. But I was like, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? Like it's just not like, not that I don't want to like help people. Of course I want to help people, and help solve problems. It's just more of like, it didn't feel natural,
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And so what I
Yeah.
found for me personally was actually talking to agents. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
love talking to agents. And it's funny, I'll tell you one little story about that too, is that it clicked for me when I realized like, oh, in my business, right? A lot of times I'm not talking to like the executive, I'm talking to a gatekeeper to the executive.
Ah,
And so I know how to like navigate and have those
yeah.
conversations. And so it's the
Yeah.
same thing when you're talking to an agent. An agent's a gatekeeper to the seller.
Big time.
And so I think when I put that together, I was like, oh, why does this like feel so natural, like to me,
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
am I
Big
able
time.
to like mirror these conversations and the energy, and like I'm not nervous about like jumping on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why. Like, because it's like
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your superpower.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Talking to
We're
gatekeepers, my superpower.
yeah. So we're coming towards the end here, and I want to ask about two more questions.
Yep.
After spending time with Pace,
Mhm.
being in his home, he opened up his home to us, which was
Yeah.
so gracious and hospitable. After spending time with Grace, what's the next big steps you're taking in your real estate journey?
So for me, like me and my husband, like our number one goal is to build like passive income. We're looking
Mm-hmm.
to buy real estate. So we're more of the buyer, if you
Okay.
will. So if there's deals, um, and in terms of like the exit strategy, like for those properties, I'm not really sure. It really just kind of depends, like on the property itself. But we're kind of open to all ideas. We want to start in single family. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't really talked about anything like multifamily. Um, but again, I don't even really want to like go there in the conversation, like because we haven't even taken the first step with like building a portfolio of single family. So we want
Yeah.
to start with the single family, and then we want to, see what happens and then go from there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're in sub two,
Yep.
you're wanting to buy, are you wanting to buy specifically in Los Angeles?
No, actually. So, I think, again, I'll be real quick about this, but like
Yeah.
joining the community, that's also been like a mental like roadblock for me, is like knowing that I don't want to invest in California and I want to look in these other
Mm,
places, and then like not being there or necessarily knowing the areas, I get nervous. Like I'm like, oh, is
yeah,
this like a
yeah,
good area? Like I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. It's
For
like I
sure.
can research, but I don't really know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, but I actually am kind of taking a different approach right now. So, what I'm doing is I'm tying in entertainment with the real estate. And so, what I mean by that
Uh,
is, when you work in production, you generally speaking work with film commission offices. And the film commission office helps the production crew put lodging together for the crews that are coming
oh,
in out of town. And so because I
yeah.
have connections to the film commission offices, I basically can go to them and say,
Yeah.
hey, I have this like slate of homes in this area. So
Mm.
when the productions come, can you rent my homes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my
Brilliant.
idea right now.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. If you can find the places that film crews are going to constantly,
Yeah.
a very popular space, not Oklahoma, because
Yeah.
not much is happening here, but okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. I mean, am I actively doing it like right now? Like it's a little bit of on the side for me, if I'm
Yeah,
being
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Because it's our busiest season, like with my company, Salt and Pepper
Oh,
Gifts. just being like that it's Q4 holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Makes sense.
so there's a lot going on. So,
That makes
but
sense.
but I'm trying my best.
Yeah, your focus is elsewhere on the meat
Yeah,
and potatoes.
meat and potatoes. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I need the meat and potatoes to buy the other thing. So,
Exactly. Nice. So,
yeah.
Mary Noon, thanks for being on here. How can my listeners get a hold of you? How could they potentially bring you deals? I know you're swamped with other things right now, but come January when you start looking, how could they work with you?
Yeah. So again, like they can go to our Instagram. I would say it's like probably the best place to like to get a hold of me. Whether it's a direct message or going to our link tree, like there's a lot of ways to
Gotcha.
contact us. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. I will make sure that your link tree and your Instagram are in the show notes. Thank you again for joining us, Mary Noon, and giving us of your time, the most precious resource we have, and the only thing we cannot buy back or take from anyone else.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And to my
Bye.
listeners, what is the one thing you're doing today to build the future you want brick by brick?